It says, oh, okay, we're live!
Alright, I guess I'll go ahead and introduce myself. Hi guys, welcome back to our live chat at Standing Trials. I'm Jade, one of the narrators on the site.
I'm Denisha, another narrator on the site.
I'm Tribute, I'm also a narrator.
And I'm Doyen, and I think this is my first live chat, so hi!
Hello! So, we're going to be talking about a few things. I just wanted to go over that we have been doing a lot of development so far, and we still have a lot of development to get through. Anybody
Lately,
watching
we haven't
this?
been doing too much.
Yeah. Anybody watching this right now, I just want to let you know that we are officially open on March 1st. So,
March 1st!
Yep. If you want to come on board and join and get involved in our storyline, then March 1st is the date. So,
You're also welcome to pop in now, but you won't be doing any actual role-playing.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, you guys can go ahead.
What'd you call me?
Who's starting?
Go ahead.
I vote Doyen.
Cool. Yeah. I can do that. So, I have been developing a new immortal who also made for herself a new race. The new immortal is Famula. She's the immortal of souls, servitude, and resurrection, and she was created by Cyril. She's really cool. I really like her. She was essentially created to help tend to the dead, and she has this really cool relationship with this race that she sort of spontaneously creates. Essentially, anywhere she walks on the earth or on Ilos, if she is within 10 feet of remains or if she directly touches any bones or remains, she experiences the last moments of someone's life, and if she senses regret in the last moments of someone's life, or if she senses in the soul desire to live on, then she compulsively raises them as a wisp, which is the new race. Essentially, they are an ethereal version of their corporeal being. So, if someone was playing a Kiora, for example, and then the Kiora dies, and then has their remains in the ground for, it could be a few days, it could be a few years, or arcs rather, it could be quite a long time, or quite a short time.
About it.
Huh?
If they die and they're pissed off about it?
Yeah, I mean, basically, as long as she finds the remains, and she senses that they have a lot of regret and want to keep living, her body compulsively raises them, and now they are back as an ethereal version of themselves. And there's a contract that Famula has with the Wisp that she has basically brought them back to this earth, or to Idalos, essentially, so that she can watch over them, so that they can have a second chance to fulfill whatever they regretted. And as soon as that's fulfilled, they pass on to eternal sleep. So it's a really interesting dynamic, so that players actually could, in a way, have a bit of an afterlife. Now that I think about it,
that'd be interesting.
It is very interesting. So, in a way, if your character, in some sort of interesting way, has a death, you could wait your own time out, and then, in a sense, give them a sense to have a way to fulfill whatever reason they had to die in a more fulfilling character sense, and then go on to a more eternal death later. But there's a lot of restrictions to that too,
Kill your character twice.
Because wisps do die, so that's to be clear. Just because they are they're kind of like ghosts. So they're but at the same time they're not like ghosts that are immortals. So they are created by an immortal, but they are not immortal. So wisps. They are ethereal in nature, and depending on the soil of the place their remains are from, they have kind of a different tint to them. I'm really excited about that. So, if they came from if their remains were in a weedy, plainy area, I'm thinking that they'll probably have a goldish tint to them. Or if they their remains were waterlogged or kept in the ocean, they'll probably have a bluish tint to them. Just a little fun thing.
So I have a very basic question about the wisps.
Yes, go for it.
their appearance when they come back, like, what do they look like? I know they look like themselves, but are they wearing the same clothes that they died in, or is it like all torn up, like some kind of like ghost or
Just so that people don't end up as zombies that are like mutilated. The approach I'm taking right now is that the wisps raise themselves as the mental perception of what
One
they
second,
were.
I'm going to deal with the Skype messages.
So,
So
you know,
that also
say-
brings up another interesting question. Say a wisp has very low self-esteem and they don't see themselves as how they look like, then what does that do?
then it does what you think it does.
So like if they think that they're really fat people, then they turn into a really fat wisp.
I mean, so I think that, well, so we're harsh on ourselves than you think. So what I think that it does is,
Holy
So,
shit!
themselves-
I'm going to cut you off right here. I'm so sorry, but JD Rock, I'm done. Carry on.
okay, cool. So wisps raise themselves in. I don't want them to raise themselves in that last living memory of like, I have my stomach hanging out of me. You know, I think that.
No, I got that. Like their
but so-
self-image.
no, so what I'm trying
Usually
to say
people don't
is that-
imagine their self-image as them being mutilated remains, but I mean like what they really thought of themselves as, or like like if they look into a mirror, that's what they see, or what do you mean?
I think it would be like closer to what they looked into a mirror and saw. So like probably the last. I'm thinking I'm trying to develop like what they experience as a raising, like what, because it happens compulsively through Famula, more like a conduit than as an intentional action, and I'm playing with right now creating it more as when she does this compulsive raising, they probably end up experiencing somewhere in that process at least one pleasant memory. Like I think they go through a lot of memories because I think what they do is in the process of being raised, they probably go through a large series of memories from their corporeal life. And what I'm playing with right now is through that process, they see themselves in many different situations, and from that they build their ethereal form. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm going with it right now, because if you see yourself enough through your own memories, you can kind of build yourself, or at least like, because I don't know if we probably don't have mirrors yet, but we do have like enough experience with other people that like you look down, you see your body, you know, you do these other things like.
Mirrors are a thing. Just gonna
Mirrors
clarify.
aren't very high tech. They're just they're just a sheet of silver behind.
Cool. But you know, I'm really excited about wisps because essentially they have a really interesting psychology in that they can't, you know, they have an ethereal form on the earth, but they feel fragmented from time and space and often society just because of, you know, what life has dealt them, because they're separated from their bodies and they can't actually touch their corporeal remains anymore. The only piece they have with them is during the process of the raising, they are given a piece of their skull bone wrapped in ethereal crystal by Famula, and that's how she talks to them, is through that, and that's kind of like how they, and that's a huge basis of their worship as well. But other than that, they can't even touch their corporeal remains once they're raised. And so they feel really fragmented from everything, basically. And the only comfort they really get from this is from meeting other wisps. And if you're not speaking the same language as another wisp, but say a Kiora wisp meets like, you know, I don't know, an Oiri wisp or, you know, a human wisp, like that's a fun mix, because even though they're technically of the same people, like, you know, they're not the same people. It's a really they understand going through the same experience, but if they can't understand each other, then at the same time, like, it becomes a really interesting dance.
Well, I think, in my opinion, what kind of separates, say, like you have a wisp of a Kiora and then a living Kiora, in my opinion, what kind of separates them is, you know, death. One of them has gone through death, and they don't really, the living person hasn't really experienced it, and their death could have been very traumatic.
Yeah.
So
Death tends to be.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, and from what I see of the wisps too, death is a very major part of their person and what they are and stuff. I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and the other major factor of them is religion and worship to Famala because she created them. And basically, when she raises them, and this is also part of like the history of their race, is that because she created them, and then because she was basically created by Siriel to serve the dead, and then shortly after that, all of the original 8 immortals were killed, and war broke out, and all of a sudden there were many more dead than she could handle at once. And so essentially, she started calling out to the other wisps to help serve her, and through that, many wisps started finding eternal sleep just through service to her and helping their brethren find better peace of mind. Because say someone, died by not, taking care of their little sister enough, and they end up helping like, a brand new wisp who was a little girl find their way into like the process, and in a way that helps serve their last regret. And so we started seeing and so Famala started seeing that, through service to me, you can also find your eternal sleep. That's how service in many ways became one of her domains. And so part of the ritual is that every sunrise and every sunset, you have to use the crystal to talk to Famala and see if she needs help, because people who are in her service will find their eternal sleep, and then she needs more people to help her out, because everywhere she touches, more wisps just pop up, and all of a sudden she needs to start helping people out. It's because we're in war, and remains are everywhere, and people who are dying are everywhere, and she needs to be. You're laughing, Jacob.
I just imagine this giant conference call that happens in the morning and after they shift. Famala's just like, hey, guys, we have a quota that we have to do. So you guys have to go out there and help everyone find eternal peace.
Oh my God, Jacob. Oh my God. That was really freaking hilarious.
That was great.
Oh my God.
That's just what I just thought of.
That just made my night.
This is why we
Like, imagine like what us four are doing right now, but like across thousands of like little wisps.
Okay, guys,
And
we have
everybody
ordered a
can
meeting. We
talk
need to get
at
this
once,
live
just,
chat
like,
done.
But no, so the other important thing to note about Famala is that she's completely neutral, because she deals with the dead people all day from both sides of the war. She's just like, fuck all of you. Like, excuse my language, but like, she's just very much like,
No, she fucking won.
I don't know if we want to keep it clean for live chat. Sorry, this is my first time here. But like, she's
Guys,
very
no
much.
one cares about the living. If they're dead, we can associate.
No, but she takes care of people who are dead. And because she's seen the war do so much to screw up people from both sides, she doesn't take any side, and she's just like, y'all need to figure your stuff out, and just like she doesn't like any of it. And
Are there any living that have any connection to the wisps, or do they just stay away from it?
I would say so. I think that, I mean, it's definitely possible for someone who is alive to worship Famala, for example. And I think that it's definitely very possible for people who are alive to have connection to a wisp. So, for example, if you are a living relative of a wisp, like that's one way you can have a connection to them. Or if you're just like become a personal friend to a wisp, like just because they are like you play a wisp doesn't mean you can't befriend like non-wisps. You know what I mean? Like you're a player character, you can do whatever you want.
How ethereal are they?
How ethereal? Like you can definitely see them. You can definitely interact with them. I'm still debating right now if you cannot, like, if people like walk through them and they reform or something. And if that's the case, I'm debating creating a special profession that every wisp kind of gets like a massive bonus in, and probably will have to put some points into, where they can basically transmorgify corporeal objects into ethereal objects. So like, say like someone wants to play a warrior and they're a wisp, and they're like, well shit, I can't wear this armor because it's corporeal. Well, they can just use their skill, for example, to transmorgify a corporeal piece of badass armor into ethereal armor.
Why would they need armor if you can't get hit by any weapon?
I mean, they can still, like, the thing is, I'm still getting, like, wisps, I feel like because they're ethereal, should still be destroyable. Like, if they get hit with enough things, or if the right magics get used against them, like, they should still be, like, they should not be invincible. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, goddammit, stop throwing oranges at me.
what?
Hey guys, stop hitting me with the carrot.
Okay, but imagine this.
I'm about to
What if
explode.
every wisp had a different object that could dissolve them? Hi, Kyle.
That'd be
I'm
really
sorry.
fascinating, actually.
Hi,
That'd be
Basilisk.
pretty cool.
Okay, but what if every wisp had a different object that could disintegrate them? So,
Well,
God damn it, no, enough with the oranges. The rocks are okay, but no more oranges.
that would just... I need to
Guys,
figure
I
out
don't
how to
like
become-
cherry
I think when
stuff.
it comes to the wisps,
Okay,
when it comes to the wisps
I need
and
to hear
their-
Nicole,
and their
guys.
ethereal armor. What?
Okay, can you repeat that? They were laughing. I couldn't hear you.
I think when it comes to the wisps and their ethereal armor, I think that if they are able to craft the armor so that, you know, they can wear it and that it can do damage, then I think it should also have a counter to where, okay, well, if they're wearing that armor, well, then anybody can hit them.
Ooh.
And you know, if they're wearing that kind of armor, it's physical. You know, it's a physical piece of armor. So if they get into any kind of fight and they're wearing that armor, they actually have a chance of having, I don't know, their spirit shredded.
Yeah. The biggest piece of development I think I need right now is
Also, this.
I need to balance the race a little bit still, because I definitely, like, these are still destroyable races. Like, you know, even though I'm making a big deal about the whole, like, eternal sleep thing being, like, how they die, you know, in the same sense of, like, how we die not only of old age, but also by just doing stupid things and getting ourselves killed, you know, the wisps should be able to have a I don't want this to be a kind of race where, you know, people default to playing wisps and then, you know, don't take it seriously, right? Because I don't want people to be like, well, I'm a wisp, so now I can do all the stupid crap that I couldn't do as a human. Like, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to make this overpowered.
Here's a question. So, what happens to a wisp who dies, who dies not through finding satisfaction and peace, but through something stupid, and they're pissed off about it?
Well, they
Do
don't
they have
go
a
to
chance?
sleep. So I'm taking a lot of I'm taking a lot of influence through Buddhism with this. Let me find it. I was reading Marilyn Chen's poetry through college last semester, and she's wonderful. She does a lot of poetry about growing up as a Chinese American, and she was one of the last generations of her family to still contribute to, like, to still worship Buddhism. And we read Blues on Yellow, and the last stanza of that was, I'm so mellow yellow, Buddha sings in my veins. I am so mellow yellow, Buddha sings in my veins. Oh, take me to the land of the unreborn. There's no life on earth without pain. And so I was really thinking about that last line when I was thinking about how rebirth with wisps was, like, coming about, because I wanted to think about their tie with religion and worship, and also thinking about resurrection and rebirth and their souls. And so, you know, the whole point of eternal sleep is that they're not being reborn again, right? You know, that they are going to the land of the unreborn, that they're going on and they're not coming back, which is kind of an interesting place to take it. But I think that if they die without finding this, you know, place of peace, for example, then chances are they're going to, you know, find their soul either get reborn somewhere less happy. Like, it could be, I could take some similar influences from Buddhism and have, you know, their souls born into some sort of other person or other creature.
Is reincarnation a thing?
I mean, reincarnation could be a thing. We haven't decided that yet.
I kind of meant to actually talk about that, since we had a lot of discussion about the immortals and the mortal born. Reincarnation is a thing in Idalos. So actually it does play a large part in what happens to the immortals after they die.
Okay, but imagine a wisp a wisp dying, but in an increasingly stupid way. So Famula has to keep coming back and giving them another life. And
Well, that could also play into a very interesting relationship. And I see Kyle's mouth moving. I don't hear any words coming out, so as an FYI to Kyle, oh, 1 second, okay. Just, but, so that's one way we could take this. That was an influence I was thinking of when I was thinking of Famula and the Wisps, was a little bit of Buddhism. But
I'm sorry, I totally cut you off.
no, you're fine. Go, Nicole?
Yeah.
Did you have anything you were saying, or?
Oh, I'm gonna take care of it.
Oh,
There we go.
there we go. Hey. What else do I have? Yeah, there's a really strong prayer connection between the Wisps and Famula. I could say more about that, but I think that the more detailed summary will say more about that. I don't know if I said it on the live stream yet, but because every Wisp has basically a different life goal, I'm not giving them a specific city that they're occupying. Some Wisps need to travel the world to make their, to find their way and find their path and go on to eternal sleep. And some Wisps need to congregate with other Wisps and figure life out. So I'm going to consult with you guys and figure out some good cities that can have some offshoot villages nearby where Wisps will be congregating and kind of making their little homes as like a side village where they can also interact with the major cities. And so if some players want to interact in like a village setting with some other Wisps, then they can do that and then have like a major city nearby that they can interact with. Or if they want to just live in the major city on their own, they can do that too. I feel like because of how versatile and how varied and individual this race is, the living situation for this race had to match that, and so that's how I've developed that. And yeah, I think that covers all the major things that are developed so far, and hopefully they'll be up on the site within the week.
I guess my concern with the Wisp is, I hear my voice echoing somewhere. I'm just like,
That's fine.
Okay. I guess my concern with the Wisps is, how big of an effect are the Wisps going to have on the population? Like, do we need to make a new number for population? Do we just not count all the Wisps? Because I'm assuming there's going to be a fuck ton of them. I mean,
that is a legitimate question to have, and my honest answer is I don't know, because Famula her location is always unknown. The rumor about her is that she has like a little secret cemetery she keeps by herself, and that's without any remains, just like headstones. And she never tells anyone where she's going because honestly, people figure it out when there's a horde of Wisps coming about. I figured out that anytime we have any kind of event scheduled where, any big location gets attacked, and she will probably go there just out of her duties. But if that ends up becoming but if we end up, like, calculating for us to calculate out how many Wisps there are in the world, we have to calculate out every single casualty that exists as of the launch date. And of those casualties, how many casualties that she has specifically tended to. Because there's no way she's attended to every single body, and not every single body wants to be alive again.
Okay, in that case, I'm going to say that there's no way we don't calculate the Wisps as part of the alive population, because
also think about it. How many people after they have died are going to be like, I still want to be alive? It's not going to be a lot of people, because most people, like, maybe this is like wrong of me to say, but like the idea is that most people are like peacefully able to like let their souls pass on. That's like the premise of the race. But there is that. I don't know. The idea is that the people who are dying are okay with their souls passing on. But there's a sect of people who are not okay with their souls passing on, that want to keep going, that can't stop, and they are the people who become Wisps. That number has spiked because we're in war, and people who die in war tend to be younger, tend to be in battle, and tend to not want their lives to be over because it's war. And that's the difference. And that's why she's so busy and overwhelmed, because normally she's tending to, like, you know, those type of people in smaller numbers. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, there's a working population of like 500,000, so I guess that it is really impractical to say, okay, let's calculate all the wisps. Okay, I guess
so
what we're going to have to do is leave, at the very least, leave the number of wisps out of the current 500,000 living body count.
That's fine. And we don't have to calculate that back in, but we'll definitely... if you want to calculate the number of wisps on Idalos, to figure that out, we will have to sit down and try and figure out a percentage of the, casualties of war so far, how many want to keep going.
No, math is not my
and those are making up a lot of stupid arbitrary numbers.
That's really narrow, really broad.
Yeah, and that's not something I feel
there
comfortable.
There should be an additional criteria for.
Yeah. So
well, there is, and that is the formula has to be there. But yeah. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. There's too many variables.
Well, if she's at the battle, then every single person who died in that battle is probably going to come back because they're like, no, I don't want to die. No, she's there. So that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
There should be something else in that.
Honestly, what I would probably suggest, Famula and Rai, because of Famula's gift, they should be working closely together, just like Rai and Pyre and Pri are. So I think that in the case of setting requirements for resurrections of wisps and spirits, I think that Rai should be a part of that, in that, whatever, I don't know, whatever his hand, I guess, whatever he plays a hand in.
Sorry, you said Rai?
I think that he should, yeah, Rai, because he is the immortal of death.
Oh, Rai,
yeah,
yes.
Rai. So I think that any kind of requirements... I can see them working
together.
But as far as requirements for any resurrections of wisps, I think that he should be involved in that as well.
Would you remind me just right here while I'm still hot on the idea? Okay, what if we do a... I guess I'm going to say heroic just thing for deaths. Like, if somebody honestly deserved to die and they're still pissed off about it, I mean, like, somebody who's done some pretty awful things, what if they don't get the chance to become a wisp? Or, somebody who's probably just... somebody who instinctively jumps in front of a sword to save their best friend, they're maybe going to have some regrets.
Well, right. And
I wish that sword wasn't there.
Well, if they jumped in front of a sword to save their best friend, but they wish they still lived, like, they wish they saw the world, they wish they did something else, they're probably gonna get raised again. Like, because I can see why they would still have, light regrets. Like, they wish they traveled more, they wish they, still found a chance to find love. I don't know, I'm not that person. But,
how about we do that? Okay, people who have died heroically and people who deserve to be dead don't get to resurrect.
So good and bad people don't get to come back, but all these neutral people are like, okay.
That's not what I'm saying.
Well, I think this is, as far as what it takes, as far as the requirements for a resurrection, I think this is definitely something that we need to talk about offline as well.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff.
We can't keep going on about this because there's more material to work through. But if you want to talk about more requirements for a resurrection than just more like a will to live, then we can do that. I kind of went with that because I wanted it to be broad and flexible for players. But that's definitely something that we can talk about putting some more limits on if you feel like it's a bit too flexible right now.
Yeah, because if you think about it, like anybody that, any player, I'm thinking about it from a PC point, so any player that happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time or does something inappropriate and they end up dying, of course, I think in my opinion they're eligible to be risen as wisps. Well, if you think about it, if you think about player characters and NPCs all having that kind of, same thing happen, then you're going to be looking at a bunch of wisps, a lot of wisps. So setting
I
a
think maybe we
requirement
should
would
take this
help.
this requirement discussion off the live chat for now. Not because it's not important, but because this is something that we probably don't need to be airing our dirty laundry in front of everyone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is good to talk about. It just
it's
gives
good
us
to talk
something
about.
to
Mm-hmm.
work on next time. So
It is good to talk about, and I'm not disagreeing with that. I just, again,
Let's
dirty
just call it
laundry.
that we don't have an unlimited amount of time and that we have other things to talk about.
That too.
I mean,
Also,
probably
what the heck have we talked about so far?
Just
we've
this.
talked about Formula and the Wisp so far.
Oh, so I'm not that late. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Nothing you don't, I think, know already, because I think I've talked to you quite a bit about her and the race already.
Mhm.
Okay. Yay! All right. Who's up next?
Anyway, should we throw Kyle out there? Put him on the spot?
No.
That'd be mean.
Well, actually,
I mean,
I
he
hope
is
you guys
last
don't mind.
party, but let's be merciful.
I actually hope you guys don't mind if I actually take about 10 minutes to go over some information. So it's concerned me a lot that we actually have so many questions about the Immortals and the Mortalborns and the marks and everything. So I just want to start off by going over the Mortalborns. And I know Kyle and I talked about this a lot offline, but I've got a list right here. Let's see. And I'm just going to be reading some stuff off this list, and I'll go over it, once I'm done reading. Let's see. So, Mortalborns. I want to talk a little bit about their power and what exactly separates them from Immortals, because I definitely don't want people getting confused thinking that they're as powerful as Immortals when they're actually not. So one thing about Mortalborns is that they basically have two options of how they want to use their power. They can either use their power to prolong their life for a very long time, but they will be as weak as a human.
See, I don't really like that description because it's because this is supposed to be
Why not operate it like a battery?
Yeah. I'll just say yeah and shut up.
Okay, so anyway, or they can either use their power to basically, do what their domains are. If their domain is, I don't know, domain of shadows, they're going to go ahead and use their power to manipulate shadows, whatever. But the thing is they will age just like a human, or they will age faster. Now, the thing that sets them apart from this, though, is that they have the opportunity of having their own mark. But the only thing that kind of sucks is that by the time they actually learn about their ability and learn how to give people marks, they're going to be as old as dirt. So it kind of sucks in that ballpark. But, yeah. Anyway, so another thing about Mortalborns is that they are able to kill Immortals because they are half human. So they just can't use their power to do it. It's basically like fighting fire with fire. They can't use their power to kill the Immortals. They have to actually use their skill. So if they're skilled with, I don't know, a giant freaking sword, they have to use whatever to kill the Immortal. So, what else did we talk about, Kyle? What else did we talk about?
Let's see, that time we spent a lot of time on the 20 dead Immortals I need to write up for you. Let's see, there was something else. There's something about the Immortals themselves. Give me a moment. Can't believe neither of us wrote this down.
I'm not sure who's dumber about that. Or
Yes.
who's dumber for that.
There is one thing I remember now. You said we where's that page? Okay, I was looking at the Immortal list we have now and noticed that the only one that doesn't have 4 kids on the main group, sorry, not kids, 4, the only original being, besides Delana, that doesn't have 4 Immortals is Atiel. And you said you were making, where are you? Oh, there you are. You said you were making an Immortal of Peace, or something to that effect, and I figured that would be the one to round off Atiel's group, and after that we could just be done with the main Immortals for the story, besides Delana's.
Yep. So what we are going to do is we are going to end up making one more immortal, and that is going to be an immortal that basically encompasses peace and tranquility and harmony, I guess. So, but that's something that we still have to develop. But
Right,
other
can
than
you use
that,
Bob Marley as the picture for that immortal? Or...
No.
Sorry.
Bob Marley.
but
being
anyway, so
Let me be funny here.
so that is on the immortal, or not the immortals, but the mortal born. I also want to bring up the timeline that we made. That I made actually.
Oh.
That does need a bit of editing.
Let's pull it up.
Ashley will be working on that soon.
That reminds me.
Oh god.
I need to talk to everyone in here at some point except Jacob because he doesn't have an immortal. Sorry.
Haha.
I
About
wanted immortal, so
something.
thank you.
Okay, cool. About something. I'm not gonna bring it up in chat because
I'm good with my magic.
Okay, so what's on your shirt today?
my shirt today. I decided they told me I could be anything, so I decided to become awesome.
Oh,
No.
that's awesome. But so I did want to go over the timeline for
I'll be right back.
an instant when it comes to the mortal borns. Now, just so everybody is clear on when exactly they come about, mortal borns are actually born. They actually start to be
When a man and a woman love each other very much.
Are they like Greek god style born or like, human style born? Are they like,
They come out of.
are
they
they
come
like
out of the
human
Zeus
style.
metal
golden
Human
hour
style.
or like okay.
Yeah, it's
Cut out
human
of Zeus's
style.
legs.
Yeah,
Zeus
just
me
was
God.
not getting
An
like
immortal cracks
came out
its
and
skull and
cries
another
left
mortal comes
arm.
out.
Sorry. We're here. I'm done being that now.
No, you're fine. But so timeline-wise, the mortal borns come just maybe a few centuries after the immortals actually find out that there's humans living in their world. And that actually, the mortal borns are actually one of the reasons why tension between the immortals escalates so much, because it's basically another reason for why immortals shouldn't be breeding with humans.
Someone
Because,
could control their dick.
Yeah, basically. So anyway, I just want everybody to be clear that mortal borns are actually a lot older than what they are, perceived to be. Well,
I
they've
haven't brought
been
a cat
around.
to the live chats yet, so I'm gonna take this opportunity to bring one in now.
What? Oh,
Hi,
kitty.
kitty.
I still need to introduce mine.
Everybody look. Yeah! Kaya, what do you mean your kitty? You gotta
I have
bring
a
your
cat.
Yes!
You know where it is right now. Give me a moment.
Hold on.
Find your cat, damn it. This is important, okay?
What?
Air 5.
You're funny.
Alright, I'll be right back. I gotta go
Don't
find my
leave me
cat.
hanging.
For anyone watching who is confused,
Don't leave me hanging.
Tribute, who is mischievous, decided to
Never mind.
link a picture in our moderator chat
Come
of
on.
the Immortal of Peace, which is a
Leave me
painting of Bob Marley.
Which is Bob Marley. Yep.
Come on.
Oh my
Actually,
god.
a drawing.
You want to know what would
Don't
be even
leave
more
me here
funny
hanging,
if I
damn it.
actually used it.
Okay.
It'd be amazing.
I mean,
I mean, look at him. He looks so peaceful.
we could find a model with a similar aesthetic.
My
I wouldn't
current-
mind a model of a similar aesthetic.
What about your cat?
My cat is currently getting attention from my housemates, so
Don't care. Grab
yes,
the
well
cat.
they do.
It's your cat.
Actually,
Don't
it's
have
really
a model
not
of cats.
theirs. It's really not my cat's theirs. I just paid for it as a
Don't
present.
we have like a Immortal with a domain of cats?
Yes.
Felicol.
Yes. I love her so much.
Which
But-
one is she?
we do.
Felicol.
Felicol.
One guess as to who she is. Who made her?
I'm gonna guess Ash.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Jacob.
So,
You
business,
are not.
please.
you are not leaving this chat until you talk about some magic.
Hi, Sierra. Everybody needs a cat. And
Jacob, I don't
If-
think
Come on,
that
Jacob.
works.
Casey.
We'll
Jacob.
talk about magic.
There you go.
What questions do you have?
Look at this.
What's your favorite magic?
Well, why don't you, for chat purposes, why don't you go over what exactly is magic and what's involved in the use of magic, so players kind of understand.
Alright, well first, magic is spawned from these areas in the world called fractures. They're like giant trenches that are really deep in the world that are carved out of the deaths of certain immortals. Basically, they're like, and they leave in fragments called wells that are basically just fragmented immortal. So,
Cat.
it's an alternative source of power because these dead immortals still have their strength, but they don't, they don't use it. But magic is magic. It's properly known as arcana. We're not going to use magic in the game as an actual word because fuck that. But
Not that the players won't. No offense to the
What?
players.
what?
Oh, players will probably use magic as a shorthand.
Yeah,
And,
sorry.
Well, I hope they do it out of character. I mean, that's going to eliminate
yeah.
confusion. But in character, it shouldn't be a word.
Sorry. Probably is gonna just because of how people work.
Alrighty then.
But yeah, okay. So magic works primarily through the usage of a conduit. A conduit is essentially a well that has been processed and then put into an object, and that object in turn becomes able to absorb magic that's in the air and channel it into a spell or whatever they want to do with it.
Okay, that's better.
The conduit is necessary because getting into contact with that kind of power is gonna kill you.
Ooh, joy.
Well, it
it's
makes
gonna-
sense because if you're harboring power from like a fracture created by an immortal, you're basically like trying to get power from them in a sense, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's like poison. If you are exposed directly to raw magic, it's gonna kill you. It's gonna tear you apart. You're gonna disintegrate.
Okay, so it's like
Holy
basically
crap.
it makes sense. So it's like radioactive energy. Like you gotta put on a big fat suit to touch uranium, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you don't
In
have
essence.
to. You'll just die if you don't.
Well, right, but no one wants to do that.
Yeah, I've
Well,
mapped
Else Famula comes walking along.
Oh yeah, and people who
Hey,
die that
what
way
up,
cannot
Nick?
become wisps. They're just completely gone.
What? Oh my gosh.
Plot
They're
twist.
completely gone.
That's
Oh
a
my god,
horrible
my
way to
cat
die.
looks,
Oh,
And
jeez.
my cat looks
Oh,
so
geez.
done right now.
Mhm.
If you're stupid enough to go directly into contact with raw magic, which is really hard to do, you're gonna die, and you're not gonna come back.
Okay, so I do have a question for you, and I don't know if you've thought about this yet, but what so I know that magic is immortals can't use magic. What is its actual effect on immortals? Like, what does it do to them? I know there's different types of magic, but do they also suffer from like sickness, a kind of sickness if they come in contact with magic, like any kind of magic?
I've thought about it. It's just trying to explain it. What happens, So basically, it cancels out. It's neutralization. Nothing happens. They cannot
Okay.
interact with it. If they
okay.
come into contact with a well, the well will disintegrate. That's it.
Gotcha. Okay. So, from the list of magics that you described, what would you say your favorite is, and why?
Just a minute.
There's so many. Oh.
There's 5 intrinsic magics. There's 3 formulaic and 3 somatics so far. So that's a total of 11. My favorite would probably be. I haven't written it up yet, but illusionism would probably be my favorite one.
Ooh, why
Okay,
that one?
why?
Because it lets you create things that aren't there. And then if you're really good at it, it lets you create objects temporarily that are there. you know?
Okay.
So you
That
can
is-
fabricate things and then they disappear when they're used up.
Is there a magic you find really challenging but still enjoy?
Abrogation,
Why?
because I can't write it up yet.
Okay, so if you had to, so some players are actually going to be wondering what would be the best magic to start out with to kind of get their feet in the water. So what would you probably recommend?
I'd recommend attunement because you have to have it for other magics.
Oh, come
Mhm.
on.
Well,
Not
yeah,
a real answer.
but
The
for
simplest
than that.
the simplest
Well,
magic by far is gravitation.
Well, okay, so what does attunement do, and why are you recommending it, and then what is gravitation?
Attunement is the process of pulling raw magic from the air into your conduit so that it doesn't destroy you. There's basically two types of attunement. There's that where you use it to create a spell, and then there's the other one where you use it to get a vision around the world. It's called the sight. It's a very advanced use of attunement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry for my
attunement
antics with
basically
my cat.
connects the sorcerer to the world around them so that they can use magic safely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody watching this so far, we are going to make quick start guides for
Eventually.
the complicated stuff when it comes to this role play.
Yeah, my stuff.
So basically everything Jacob's developed.
He's
Well,
doing
no,
complicated
we're-
stuff, so you don't have to.
Yeah. I'm gonna be making some quick start guides for people who are wondering what exactly they have to do to build their character sheet, and also list some stuff that'll help them in that process. So while we're doing that, we're gonna also make quick start guides on magic, on businesses, on guilds, on pretty much anything that may be overwhelming to some people.
Okay.
So.
That's cool.
All right. Well, cool. Does anybody else have anything to add? Because we've got about 21 minutes left.
Before what?
If you guys wanted to learn, is there any other magic stuff you guys needed to know?
What
Well,
happens if you set raw magic on fire?
Well, I was actually wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the factions, because I cannot stress to you how excited I am at the thought of having a little tiny group of magic users in Nahar. I really, really want that. So I kind of
Okay,
want you to
so-
talk about factions.
Okay, so for now there are two that I'm currently developing. The names are, they're shaky. We might improve them. Probably not me. Someone else can improve them if they want to, because I don't know. But,
I get stuck with these things.
basically, the two, I'm gonna abbreviate their names. One's the Seekers, and the other one's the Fist. They're not great names.
The Seekers of the Fist.
The Seekers of the Fist. They're people who go around wanting to get punched in the face.
They do what with fists?
Honestly, I'm sure we want the actual answer to this question.
No,
One is the Seekers, and the other one is the Fist.
what these factions do. Go ahead.
Okay, the first one, the Seekers, it's self-explanatory. They go around and they seek knowledge, and they seek the locations of the fractures that contain wells, and they learn more about magic in order to leverage it. In
Okay,
order
but I think
to
we're all more
gain-
curious about the fist.
I'm not actually, but okay.
Well,
I think
I
I've
was
explained.
actually-
I've explained it to Kyle already.
Well,
Well, I was actually wondering, along with the factions, I was wondering if you can explain a little bit more about how long magic has been around, like when it was actually created, and then when it started to be studied, and that stuff.
What was it, like 400? The year 400 or something like that? Around there. That's when magic was first discovered out of the fractures.
Oh, I'm gonna actually pause there for a second. Anybody? The year that we're starting on is 715, and the reason for that is that when the humans were revived from the immortals, when they were revived from the immortals, that's actually when we start counting the years. So just going to go ahead and give that piece of information, so it kind of makes sense when you use the years. So go ahead.
Okay,
So
wait,
that's the
what?
first
So all the
discovery
humans
of the
died and then all the
fractures.
humans were revived? I'm kind of confused now.
No, like, so you know that piece of history where it says that the immortals come back to Idalos, Idalos is falling apart, and so to gain favor with them, they resurrect the land and the humans. That's
Humans
when
kill each other off.
that's when we start counting time.
Okay, but like
Years.
everything's dead, or it's just some? I'm confused.
Okay, hold on. One moment.
Almost everything is extinct. The lands are unrecognizable. There's lava. There's heat. It's chaos, and humans are almost extinct. They
Damn it,
are not
Fulton.
extinct, but they're almost extinct. And in the piece of history, it does detail that some humans come back just the way they are, and other humans come back as other races. So anyway, go ahead, Jacob.
All right. Well, before I explain time and like years and all that crap,
There's a cat.
are you done?
No, it's a cat. I'm never
Done.
I'll get some.
All
But
right,
she'll be
before
quiet
I
about it.
explain years and like timeline and how that happens, I have to explain something else because these fractures, they're inherently magical, you know. So what they do is that they connect to each other and they form this thing. Like it's kind of like a woven, like like a web kind of. I don't know, like you know, like a cloud, more like a cloud that hovers over, and that's where magic comes from. It's you know, I'm still kind of shaky on like
Are
vocabulary.
you saying
and shit,
magic
but-
falls from the sky?
No, I'm saying that magic is all around us.
Which makes sense. I mean, if the immortals created the earth and created the world, then wouldn't it then kind of permeate? Like, I don't mean to keep going back to like the uranium reference, but if they create,
Yeah, it's energy. It's in the air. It's in the
energy,
it's in the
and so
land.
if the immortals created everything, wouldn't that then be like left latently everywhere?
Yeah, that's what happens. Fractures are the most concentrated areas of magic, but everywhere is permeated with all the like the radiation, for lack of a better
So,
term, that comes out.
in that case, I kind of want to bring up a thought from earlier when you said that when someone comes in contact with raw magic, the stuff that's in the air, the magic that's in the air, is that raw magic?
That's no. Raw magic is
Okay.
concentrated. That's just air, basically.
Okay.
So the magic that's
Yeah.
all around is basically diluted
Like,
enough to not kill
Say,
people.
yeah. Say like someone is pulling magic into a conduit, but it gets interrupted and someone gets exposed to it, they're gonna die.
Okay, gotcha.
And that can happen. That's how a lot of magics are discovered, and people die from that.
God damn it.
Okay.
That's
Trial
so...
and error, shit like that.
What should players know when they are creating a character that gets involved with magic? Because, you know, it sounds like magic is a very volatile thing for a character to study, for example. You know, if someone's creating a character and they have like a novice level ability to use magic, should they be afraid of their character, you know, combusting if they don't do something right? Like what should they know about when they get into magic?
Honestly, going into magic, you're gonna have a basic knowledge of it. Like, if you're gonna start out as the character, then you're gonna have a basic knowledge of it, because that's a requirement for becoming a mage, a sorcerer in creation. But so if you're doing that right away, you're not gonna die, because you have that exposure. You can get hurt from it, but you're not gonna die right away.
I think it's also important to address to players that may listen to this that we have actually decided that we will allow players to start out as sorcerers based on what we see from the character sheet. And I think when it comes to that, I would really like Jacob to be the one looking over those ones.
Yeah, that's fine. I can do that.
But yeah, so we have decided that it would actually be a lot of fun instead of having players go through the whole process from starting out as a new player to building, and then becoming a sorcerer, to just going ahead and cutting that process out and letting them start out as a sorcerer.
And
the
there are
reason for this
requirements on
also-
that.
Oh, go ahead.
There are
Yeah.
requirements on that too. I mean, you're going to be limited in how much skill you have right away,
Mhm.
and also you're not. There's certain mechanisms that that are explained in the write-ups that aren't being talked about here that need to be adhered to.
Well,
Yeah,
naturally.
exactly.
Hmm.
So, and you will notice that we have agreed to allow experience to be awarded at the time of character sheet approval. So, people who are starting out as sorcerers, we better not hear any lip from you, because if you see that you're not having much experience awarded for you, well, there's a reason why, because you're actually starting out at a much further place than most people are. So.
Plus, you're
I
getting
think-
a conduit. If you start out as a sorcerer, you're getting a way to cast magic. You're not gonna have to find it.
Yeah. But yeah, so awesome.
Should I explain how conduits work?
I think you briefly touched on that, but if you want to go ahead and explain a little more, that would be awesome.
All right. So conduits are wells are the essence of a conduit. You turn in a well into a conduit by exposing it to something, by creating the conduit. So once it's there, it has a natural tendency to pull magic, but that is controlled by the wizard's will. So
See,
the
what
sorcerer
exactly do you
goes-
have to expose a conduit to? I mean, I have a lot of questions
There's
here.
the process. So let me pull up the page and I'll let you know, because it's written up. So first you have to shape it, right? Then there's a process called magnetization. So the wizard begins this process. They pull magic in with attunement. Like I said, there's two ways to do attunement. There's one where you're casting a spell, and there's another one where it's a meditative process. So they do that, and they're starting to expose the conduit to magic, and that's slowly going to turn it so that it begins to magnetize on its own and pull magic in.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
In sense, right?
Actually, and one last thing, I don't mean to keep putting you in the hot seat, Jacob, but I was hoping that you could also talk about the Kiora a little bit before we end the live chat.
Okay. What do you guys want to know?
Yes.
As a quick note, I have to leave at 5:30. You guys can keep going, or do you guys need to head out as well?
Well, I should probably.
I
will
personally do need to head around the same time, so.
Okay, that
Yeah,
makes
we've
sense.
got about 10 minutes left.
Okay,
so
we'll
I think
short
just
the Loon and Trideheart for next time. And that might be better because Ash and I need to coordinate more on that anyway.
Maybe I'll focus on the Kiora next time too. Then.
No,
I
but
can
we
finish
you
up
know
tonight.
things about them, and you're people.
What?
Everyone will
Yeah.
keep calling them plant people until you talk more about them.
Plant
Alright,
people,
so-
plant
I
people,
have
plant
gotten
Stop
people. Plant people.
I have
Well, what
gotten
we can go ahead and do, because we have about 10 minutes left of live chat before we end. So if you want to go ahead and just give us a brief overview on what the race is, what makes them special, who's their creator, basically everything
Okay.
that's listed in the knowledge base, but just go ahead and summarize that so, players kind of get an understanding of it.
and
Alright,
talk
the
about why they
Kiora-
are not plant people.
The Kiora are created by Mosuke, or however you pronounce that.
Mozeki.
Whatever. Okay, so
That is not
created
whatever.
they're created by Mosuke,
Mozeki.
and okay, so they're natural desert dwellers. Their bodies are accustomed to it. They're very, their skin is dark as a result. They're humanoid. They're mammals. They're not plants. They're not plant people.
Plant people.
Their skin is rougher. They have plant-like characteristics, some, but they're mammals. And they produce like mammals do. They don't fucking get seeds and plant them in the ground and they grow out and shit,
Oh, don't you dare diss my thing.
What?
So
What are you talking about?
they have a few
Was
very
that a
distinct.
jibe at me? Was that a jab at my Severin reproduction?
I don't
No.
I don't know how
You
I don't know
said
anything
that
about the
plant-
Severin. They're not
plants
written out.
What are the seven?
Or I don't the last
They
I didn't
kind
I
of
haven't
are.
looked at the page. I haven't
Yeah.
looked at the page. Whatever.
Anyways, Kiora do
That's
not plant
all the damn
seeds. They
pig.
reproduce like humans, but they have plant-like characteristics, which are
First, their skin. It's kind of rougher. It contains chlorophyll, so there's a slight green tinge to it.
okay.
And so their skin contains chlorophyll. So they feed mostly from the sun, which is why they're being confused for plant people. But they also eat. They don't produce protein that way. They produce energy. And protein comes in and it makes sure that their muscles don't fuck up and, so they eat meat. And then they eat sunlight. And then they eat water.
How do you eat sunlight?
You stand in front of the sun and you let it
Nom
enter
nom.
your body. They sunbathe a lot, I'm
They
guessing.
digest it. So, and then there's another thing that's also kind of unique about them. Their skin has like very small, like needle point pores in it that absorb water and filter it into their bones. So their bones are they're not entirely hollow, but they have like lining in it, so they're kind of hollow. It's like a plant stem,
Okay.
So it fills up with water, and that creates their constitution, so that they don't.
They don't need to drink through their mouths.
What?
So they do not drink through their mouths?
They drink through their hands and feet.
Can they drink through their mouths?
They could.
But they prefer not to?
It's not really practical because that's going to take longer to go into their skin.
Okay.
Yeah. If they do it through their pores, they can drink through any part of their, it's not just their hands and feet, that's just common.
Okay.
They can drink through their, like if they go and they take a bath, they're basically drinking.
That's kind of cool. It's like
It is actually.
two birds in one stone. You get clean and you drink at the same time.
Which
Yeah.
brings up the question: do they? If they're in dirty water, does that affect their health?
No, because it filters.
They got a built-in breeder.
It's like
I
it's like the same thing with plants. Like does the soil go into their into
Yeah, but
their
if you
structure?
put a plant in salt water, they're going to be affected by it.
Then don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
salt
they
water
don't-
kills plants. So
Yeah.
we're putting,
salt water does not help Kiora. If they have salt water, it's not going to be beneficial to them.
well, no, it might in fact kill them. I have a plant hotel in my
Yeah,
apartment
it
right
will-
now for people who aren't home
Put
yet.
some salt on
And
it.
no, and
Why-
exactly.
Okay, so
And
anyway,
we can't give them salt water. So it's just something
Okay.
to think about. That not everything.
explaining more about how this works. Those pores lead into veins that they have on their skin. So in addition to the leaf-like chlorophyll that they have, they also have veins that channel straight into their bones. Those veins are visible, and so that swells their bones with water. Without water in their system, they're not going to really be able to move much. Not because their muscles aren't working, but because their bones can't support their weight.
hmm
But if they can't move, how can they get to water?
Then they're fucked. Someone has to put
Well,
water over them.
they live in Nashaki. They probably get some slave to bring the damn stuff to them.
It's not something that they have to do every day. It's something that they do every few days.
So they don't
Just
have
like-
to drink every day.
They hold water in their body. And the water, it stays in there. It's not like it just evaporates inside their body. That would
You would
suck.
think it'd get used.
What?
You would think the water gets used.
That's why they do it every few days. Yeah.
I
Before it gets down to the level where they can't move.
people need to eat more than every few days. Well, they don't need.
They don't eat water. They drink. It supports their structure. They
I'm sorry, they
Yes,
eat sunlight.
yes.
Well, then how?
Why are you shaking your head? Do you have a better idea for it?
I have so many questions. We don't have enough time to deal with them all.
So then ask questions. We have some time.
We have 4 minutes.
4 minutes is enough to answer a question or two.
You've already answered a question or two. Let's move on. I feel like I'm. Let's move on from my questions.
I do have one question, but not about the Kiora.
Okay.
Ash, what have you done to your head?
I painted the word plant on my forehead.
Okay then. Anyways, I actually do have another question about the wisps because I just remembered something.
Oh yes.
How would Famula affect the Elite Ratherian?
Can you tell me more about the Elite Ratherian?
They're... Oh, shit. How do I sum this up in 2 seconds now?
Good luck.
Kind of like zombies that still possess a brain cell. They're actually...
One single brain cell.
So they're already undead and resurrected?
Right.
Well, then she wouldn't really affect them because they're already raised, in a sense. Like, if they're already undead and raised...
Alright.
Like,
Well,
if-
what I mean is...
That
Could
goes
you
into my whole
dead-
concern about necromancy going and affecting those two races too.
Ooh.
We're gonna have to talk about dead people. We're just
Yeah.
gonna have to get chat to
Because
it.
necromancy,
I don't really
necromancy
think about
isn't just
dead
raising
people.
dead people either.
I have to jet in like 3 minutes, but so I think we need to have a conversation at some point about how resurrection and necromancy either do or do not affect each other, because those are two very different sects. Because resurrection is about taking mortal remains and raising their soul from their bodies, and
necromancy is
Ratherian-
about affecting dead bodies and not raising it by controlling it.
huh?
We're not putting soul. Necromancy doesn't affect the soul at all. It just affects the body.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
that's a huge
you
conflict.
know what? So I see necromancy being more about that. So the Elite Ratherian, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but the body is there and like they still have brain cells, but like the soul perhaps is already moved on in a sense.
Sort of.
Like
Um,
So we need to have a brain. We need to have a brain merge on this and figure this out.
yeah, and I think that shouldn't necessarily happen here, but I
No.
think that we
don't have
definitely
time.
Hold
need
on,
to
babe.
have a conversation about that.
Hold on, I'm in live chat.
But yeah.
All right.
So
Hey
Yeah.
I
guys,
have to.
so
Yeah, we all have stuff to do. So we'll discuss this.
Yeah.
some
We
other
all have to go.
So, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up for tonight. Any people, any players who are watching this right now, if you have questions, we do have a link on the front page that you can go to and post your questions if you want.
It's on every other page
like-
too.
We probably
said,
left
we-
more questions and answers today anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I said,
We're
We're
we
in
are
development.
opening-
It's okay.
yeah, but we are opening on March 1st, so if you are interested in joining the Standing Trials roleplay, please go ahead, bookmark us, and sign up.
Yeah.
All right,
Sign up.
but with that, we are going to conclude our live chat. I hope you guys enjoyed it and have a great night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
See ya.
Bye.